So for this week, I had the idea to kind of work on presenting two different views in the same composition. So our goal for it is going to be to combine whatever views are into just one final piece. So your challenge is finding a creative way to use the techniques we've used to present both views simultaneously. For example, on mine, so I have my first view, which is like a little interior view, and then I used a cutout and a pop-up to present, yeah, like second view. So with yours, my example is very literal, but with yours, you guys can really go beyond this. I always like when I do the examples, you've known, like with the pickle example, I like to do things a little bit more literal. That way you get the concept, but you guys can always push it further. So for example, if you wanted to do a view that wasn't necessarily like a literal view, you could do a view as in an opinion or a view as in like a perspective on something. So it doesn't have to be quite as literal as what I did, but I just felt like this was the easiest way for me to show you guys what I meant. So for step one, you're going to choose a topic or a literal perspective. There's nothing wrong to if you want to go more literal. That could definitely open up a whole bunch of possibilities for you. So it doesn't have to be a window as well. You could choose maybe like, you know, a vantage point from somewhere else. It doesn't have to be a physical window. Um, Step two, we're going to brainstorm and sketch ideas for how you create your composition. So for example, for mine, I kind of went through a couple different ideas for how I was going to do it. The first idea was I thought I would do it as an actual eye shape and then create a pop out that would be a lid blinking up and down. And when you open it up, it was going to have my space view that I had on here. But I thought, in the end, I thought it'd be kind of cool to just have it actually be a literal window. But you can kind of sketch out and come up with something that's a little more creative if you want to. For step three, you're going to elements that you've learned that you want to include. For example, pop-ups, embroidery, collage. This one, as we're moving on to these next activities, I really want you guys to start to bring in all of this stuff that we've been working on. Try to start really pulling it in and using it in your own unique ways. So I think if I was to go back, I kind of wish I had done the little aloe plant here with embroidery. So it would have presented really cool. And then maybe like collage for the vase. But definitely it would have been nice to have included the embroidery and then been able to have the pop-up as well. So I might still go back and do it. I definitely could. There's nothing like holding me back from it. But that's what I'd like to see from you guys, is just to combine things a little bit. So for step four, you're going to lay out your final composition on good paper first in pencil. I know we talked a little bit about the importance of laying out before you go into the watercolor. But yeah, just a reminder on it. You want to put everything very light pencil marks and lay it all out before you go into watercolor. But again, just make sure that those pencil marks are very, very light, because once you put that layer of watercolor over, it's going to sort of seal it in, and you're not really going to be able to get the eraser marks up as easily. I also combined in some marker with mine, a little bit of gouache as well. I don't know if you guys have worked with gouache at all in the past, but if you haven't, it's something I would highly recommend, because it seems like pretty much everybody in our group has shown something that looks design oriented, and gouache is so perfect for all that sort of stuff. Gouache is great for fashion illustration. It's great for like technical illustrations. It's really good for like if you were doing a children's book illustration. The reason I love it, and let me get my little tubes just so I can show you guys and give you some recommendations. So the reason I love gouache so much is it is acrylic. This is the set that 40% off coupon at Michael's for, and this is that looks like little tubes. I love this because it has the quick dry time of acrylic, very matte. So you're not going to get that shiny plasticky finish that you get with most acrylics. The other thing too is that you can really water it down as much as you want, like watercolors, and play with those effects a little bit. So, and oh, the last thing about it that I think the most important thing is that you can layer it very easily because it's so opaque. So if you've ever noticed, with watercolor, you can't, once the white is gone on the paper, the white's just gone, and you can't really bring it back. And if you were working with acrylics, when you go to layer white over something, typically it's going to take a lot of layers to make it opaque. But with this stuff, if you give it a try, it's just so like thick and opaque that you're going to get coverage really easily. Just a little segue, but it's something I think you guys should try out in the future if you're interested. And I would say with gouache, unlike, it's much better for you to hold off and save, $30 to get this set versus getting like the set that you would get at Michael's. Even though that's like a lot cheaper, it's just not going to be worth it, and it's not going to do what you want it to.
How much did you say that was?
This one was 60, but I had a coupon on it, so I got it for about 30. So
Okay.
It's an investment, but I think you guys, for those that are interested in design, you're really going to want to use these, and you're going to appreciate them. And they last a long time. I know these tubes look small, but it's super pigmented, so you're really getting a lot of bang for the buck with them. So I can always drop a picture in the chat if anybody's interested. Okay, so going back, you're going to lay out your composition. You're going to put the pencil marks really, really light, and then you can start to add in the color and the details. I used watercolor on this. I also got a new set too that I was just kind of testing out. I think it was a Winsor Newton set. That was pretty cheap. It was about like, I want to say $19 with a coupon, which maybe doesn't sound cheap, but compared to some of the $80 sets, it wasn't that bad. But yeah, that was really nice too, because I feel like I was able to get a lot of rich like colors and pigment with that watercolor. If you have to use the watercolor, and of course use your markers, you can use collage, really whatever it is that you want to try out. But I just think, watercolor is so versatile. If you're going to want to save this for this very last step. Part of that is with the embroidery in particular, if you cut everything out and start embroidering over top, you can definitely do it, but it's going to be just really, really hard to get like around those fine details. So I would say give your embroidery first, then create a little border and cut around that. And also when if you paint over like cut out edges. So I would say save that step very last. And once you've done that, that's going to be it. And you'll have, pretty easy to add into your sketch. Does anybody have any questions about it? Any thoughts? Anything you want advice on before you jump into it? Anybody have any ideas on like what you might do a perspective of? Like, yeah. And remember, it doesn't have to be literal. It can be a metaphor too, if you want.
I thought about doing like a person's face or something, and then when you like under it would be like the skull.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. That would work perfectly. A whole different perspective. Very nice. And so are you thinking you'd go like real literal with the skull, like anatomically correct and stuff, or would it be like a funky?
Yeah, it would probably be as accurate as possible.
I like that. I look forward to seeing it. Anything else? Any other thoughts so far? I know it's hard to like come up with stuff on the spot. So. Okay. All right. For anybody that didn't have a chance to share in the beginning, do we have any folks that want to show any more work or anything? No? Okay. All right. Well, if that's it, I don't know if you guys have any questions beyond, what I showed.
Any questions, anyone? All right. Well, thank you very much. And we will see you guys all next Friday.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
And Julia, I have a question for you. Oh. Are you still there? Yes, Jeff. Darn it.